writing, screenwriting, how to sell your artwork, NFTs, right? This is the session we just finished. It was amazing. And now we're going to have another beautiful session and all about illustration by Mylo Freeman. So I'm just going to read her bio before we kick off. Is that okay? Okay. So Mylo Freeman is a Dutch American and grew up in The Hague, Holland. She attended the Art Academy in Amsterdam and majored in illustration and painting. After a short career as a singer, she started illustrating again after the birth of her son, David. Her first book, Putty, received the prize for Best Toddler Book of the Year at the time. Mylo made around 60 books up to now, and the series of Princess Arabella is one of her most well-known books. There are 13 books about Arabella, and it is published in more than 10 countries. There is an app and a theater play in the making. In all, it proves there's a huge demand for books with diversity. Welcome, Mylo Freeman.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here with you guys. Yeah. Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. Yes, I'm very happy to give you a workshop on illustration today. And I would like to start off with my picture book illustrations. So I wanted to, sort of do two parts, maybe start with the picture book illustrations, then have a little short break, and then talk a little bit about my other work, my more, freer work, you could say, or work I do also for books for grown-ups. And after that, I would, love to answer all your questions, and maybe if someone wants to show his or her work and I can comment on it, I would love to do that also, of course. So I'm going to first try and share that screen again with you guys. Let me see. I tried before and it was okay. So let me go back to that. Yeah. So can we all see the picture?
Oh, yes, we can see it. Okay,
great. Yeah. So let me start off with the first slide. Well, I just wanted to show you this self-portrait I did long time ago when I visited the Art Academy. I did like maybe I think about 4 or 6 years of art academy. I did 2 different art academies, but and I did painting and also illustration, of course, and I really loved fashion, so I also did a year of fashion design. I just, I loved all these disciplines, and I had a very hard time choosing one particular. But after I left art school, I did continue with illustration, and here is one illustration I did, a very early one, as an assignment for a certain organization. So it was a little harder back then because I, sometimes the people who gave me an assignment said, well, we really don't like these very bright colors, or, they had some comments on it. And I thought, well, too bad, because I love bright colors and I'm going to use them anyway. So, but, I finally really found my destination when my first son was born, David. And then I started really to illustrate for young children. So here I made a list of things that are important when you start illustrating for, children specifically. Let me start with inspiration. Of course, everything starts with inspiration, and I think sometimes you get inspiration consciously, and sometimes you get inspiration more unconsciously, things you remember from your childhood, or even stories you remember from your childhood. So that's, I think, a big inspiration thing. And then, of course, your direct environment. When I look around in my house, I see, sometimes little objects or little images that I, sometimes use in my illustrations. And of course, also social media is a big inspiration, because I, look for images on Pinterest, or, sometimes I see a nice story or a nice picture on Facebook. So I collect all these things, and, maybe I can't use them right away, but I think it's a good way to sort of collect images and sort of like a, well, little treasure trove, and you never know when you can use it. Well, drawing is, of course, the basis of everything, and sketching is an important thing. Is an important part of that, and sketching children is a good exercise also. Now, of course, in picture books, and certainly also in picture books I make, the children are not drawn very realistically, even though the dimensions in children are different. The head is usually a bit bigger compared to the body with a child, but in the pictures I draw, I sort of exaggerate that. The heads are even bigger than their body. So that's a nice thing. Of course, you can be creative and adjust your character the way you want. Developing a character, of course, is important, like with Princess Arabella. I'm going to show you a little bit of images later on, because this is just a list of things, but I'm going to show you the images to go with it later on. So developing a character, if you want to do that. And one thing I think is also very important for any drawing is to give it a bit of rest. When I think I'm almost finished with a drawing, I usually put it away and put it in my, like my big drawer where I save all my drawing work. And I try not to look at it for maybe a week or so. And then after that, I can pull it out and look at it again. And it's sort of as if you can see it with fresh eyes, so that suddenly you think, oh, wait, maybe it needs a little bit more retouching here or retouching there. Or maybe I think, well, it's good like this, but it's important to give it a little rest. When it comes to composition, composition is, of course, very important for a drawing. Even an untrained eye can see when the composition is off, and especially with of course, well, if it's a book or a painting, doesn't matter. And composition is always very, very important. And it also tells a story, of course. I wrote here, think like an interior designer or a landscape architect. This is when you have to draw an interior of a house, of course, or when you draw a landscape, you have to sort of compose your own landscape. You have to say, well, maybe here are some trees or the sea. So you can really create your own landscape. Try out different compositions. This is also a good exercise. Maybe not, just go for one composition, but just play a little bit with it, and sometimes I'll show that to you later. You can do that before you really make a finishing drawing, but I'll show you later on how I do that. Color, of course, is also very important. Well, especially for me, it's like almost like a sort of a trademark, because I'm so in love with all these very intense colors of the water inks I use. I'll give you a little hands up about that later on. Well, for a book, of course, the color white, the color of the paper is also important. You can choose to paint the whole drawing, but you can also choose to leave in some white spots. With a book, it's also important to leave some room for the text. So you can either choose to do that with a very soft color, but you can also leave the space where the text later on is coming white. Now the technique, there's different kinds of techniques I use. I actually, for all the books I make concentrated watercolors, like, concentrated watercolors is the basis. And on top of that, as different techniques, I use salt, and bleach and pencils, soft pastels, and but I'll show you too later on how that works. So, well, the last thing, the picture book, think like a movie director. You can use that in the storyboard you make, and the details and text, of course, are also important, but I'm going to show you some examples with that because that's easier to relate to. Well, if we go back to the inspiration, I wanted to show you something that was an inspiration to me. On the very left, you see my my teacher when I was a toddler, and she was my favorite teacher. And as you can see, I draw her in every book I make. If there's a teacher needed, it's always my old teacher that I draw. And she can turn out white, as you can see, or she can turn out brown, but it's always my favorite teacher from, well, many years ago. Another thing, as I just said, you know, like objects in the house, I have these little baskets that I use for storing little stuff, you know, all around the house. And it's got this nice little pattern. And I use that pattern for the Princess Arabella books, as you can see. All the curtains and sometimes also the furniture has that same funny pattern, and I use that a lot in my books. And sometimes it's also inspiration from real life, as you can see me here brushing my daughter's hair. Long time ago, I used that image to use that in a book. A mom who's drawing her daughter's hair, and the daughter is brushing the doll's hair. So inspiration can, of course, come from anywhere. Sometimes I think it's also okay to be inspired by other work, you know. So here, where you can see this graphic novel, this sort of blue, dark bluish atmosphere, I used for a book about a little dragon. So I think it's also very important to look at the work of other people, other illustrators or other artists, see how they do it. And, you know, if you can be a little inspired by them, I think that is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Drawing. Yeah, I think it's very important to always keep on sketching, you know, maybe have a little sketchbook with you when you go out and do some sketches when you find somewhere on the street to observe people and make a few fast sketches. That is important. And also I would advise young illustrators to draw anything. You know, I always thought, well, you know, it's hard to illustrate, for instance, a bicycle, or it's hard to illustrate a car. You know, these are very complicated objects. But I think it's very good to try and capture that also from the beginning, because it's a great way to learn, you know, to draw more complicated things. And also, if you maybe get an assignment later on, it's good, you know, to know that you can draw these things too. So make sure that you're an all-round illustrator. I think that's important. You will find your own voice in it, you know, later on. But I think if you are able to illustrate practically anything, there's a chance that you'll be able to live from your work. So it's important to really be able to draw anything around you. A little bit about proportions, you know, so here these figures are like really realistic. You see the baby with the big head and the a relatively small body, and then as a child grows up into an adult, you see that the proportions change. So with an adult, I think the head is about 1/6 of the body. I have to count that way. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, maybe 1/7. I'm not quite sure, but the proportions, of course, are quite different. But of course, you can play with that. It's not, you know, really needed that you get the proportions exactly right, unless you are making a really realistic portrait of someone. But you can play with that, I think. And I think that it's nice also if you play a little bit with it. It's not that important for an illustration, for instance, for a children's book to get it like exactly right. So as you can see here, the proportions of the heads with the grown-ups are actually even also quite big in comparison to their body, but I think I liked it. I just do it by feeling. I'm not, you know, not going to count exactly the measurements. I just like to, well, just draw it a little bit more intuitively. When I start to make a picture book, I always make a storyboard first, because every picture book consists of 12 spreads, double spreads, you can say. That's standard. So I have to, this is like an oversight exactly of how the story begins, you know, in the middle and towards the ending. So I have a good view exactly, you know, also if there's some, if there's a nice change now and then that, you know, not the compositions is always the same. Sometimes it's more of a close-up. So as you can see with number 11, the two dogs are way more close. And then at the ending, you see a whole family. Oh, let me see, sorry. And it's more of an overview of the whole picture. But it's nice to have a, so you sort of know, okay, I can see that the story is good sketched this way. So a storyboard for me is very important. Before I start, I always start out with these storyboards. And after that, I start sketching the storyboard slightly bigger on paper. And because I use water inks, I always work on like sort of a thick paper, like specially meant for the water inks. And I think this stage takes me the longest. I'm usually, well, you could say busy around two days with a drawing like this, because I'm not an illustrator who works very fast, as in, you know, I could just sketch it and it's fine. It takes me quite a while actually to make a drawing like this. So I always have my eraser close so that if it's not good, I have to erase it and start again. So when this stage is finished, I start with a ink pen to draw the soft pencil lines. And when that is finished, I always start with the background, because, you know, when I would start, for instance, with these two figures, and after that I would paint in the background, there's a big chance I would go with my brush, you know, and ruin the characters. So, and that would be almost impossible to fix again. So I start with the background, and after that I paint in the characters. And well, yeah, here I go again with let it rest a bit, because you know, sometimes that's a good thing to just leave it a little, and then after a while, maybe it could be a day or maybe a week, you can look at it and think, okay, this is good, or well, maybe here it needs a bit more work. So, oh yeah, here you see the book. I made a photo of the book also, so you can see, because the text, even though it's very little, you know, it's almost, well, it's like 4 lines, it still has to be in balance with the rest of the drawing. So I really like a lot of space around the text. So now, when we talk about character development, Augusta just told you about my Princess Arabella, and it started actually quite nice, because I started out with this little picture of the girl with the beautiful braids, or it's not braids, I think it's, I'm not exactly know how it's called, but I know this particular girl is from Congo, and I think her hair is called helicopter hair. But I just cut it out the newspaper because I just thought it was such a beautiful little girl. And after that, I made more of a sort of a realistic drawing of her, because I didn't immediately knew what to do with it. But so I put that away again. And it wasn't until I really started on the series of Princess Arabella that I thought, wait, I might be able to use that little clip I got from the newspaper. So I used, of course, her hair, although I, made it a little bit more abstract. And you can see that even if you make it like sort of a little stamp-like image, you can still see that it's Arabella, because her hair is so characteristic, I think you say. So that was like a really wonderful thing to do, to use this little clip of the girl. I must say, I started a search party after to find the girl, to let her know that she was, like, in a way, the inspiration for Princess Arabella. But unfortunately, we never were able to find her. But there you go, Arabella's here. Another example here from composition is with the zebra and the bird, where I just, painted the back of the zebra and had the little bird there also. And so it's nice to play with composition. You don't have to always put everything in there, but you can also choose for a part, for sort of a more closer look. Well, this is what I was talking about. If you have to draw a landscape, you have to be a little bit of a landscape architect. And if you have to draw an interior, then you can think about the kind of furniture you want to draw, or what else you want to have in the room. So that's always nice to do. I'm not really that good in drawing houses or interiors, because all those corners in a house, it's like I don't really like them that much. So I try to avoid corners, and but I love drawing the furniture, as you can see. Well, in this case, I say here, composition is part of the story. You can, because also you can draw something without telling too much about it, and you can, understand the story the way the objects or the people are positioned. So, and a very good trick to sort of play with composition, because it's sometimes you start drawing and then you think, oh no, it's no good, and then you have to erase it again. But sometimes what I do is I draw the characters on how do you call this, tracing paper? Yeah, tracing paper, and I sort of move them around my drawing, so I can see from, well, maybe it fits here the better, or maybe I should move it a few inches, so this way you also already get a feeling of where your character or where your object should be, without starting immediately and then having to erase everything again. So I use this trick quite a lot. And it also saves you time, and it gives you, sort of a freedom to experiment a little bit. Yeah, the text, I already told that the text is also part of your composition. If you make, of course, if you decide to go for illustrations for children, you have to think ahead of where the text will be and give that text some space around it, so it won't be too cramped, everything together. So that's also something you have to think about quite early in the process. Sometimes I use color also as a character, because as in this case with the color red, I thought it'd be nice to make that pop somehow, and in every spread, every drawing, the color red really stands out. So that's something I sometimes use. And also I like to, this is a series about Zaza, and she's, as you can see, she's about 2 years old. So I thought it'd be nice to use some softer colors, sort of pastel colors for her character also. And of course there's bright colors also, but the basis, the background, I decided to use pastel colors. And also you can see with her also that her head is quite big, because she's like a toddler, she's really small. So then I decided to make her head even bigger. I think it's also nice to experiment with colors, as in this case, this little cub. I thought, well, of course, a little panther cub is usually more yellow or beige, but I thought it'd be nice to make him gray and give him blue eyes, and the leaves around him are sort of a bit, well, almost like autumn kind of colors, and I thought it'd be nice, because it's a beautiful combination of colors. So, and because you can use your imagination and you can be creative, it's a nice way to experiment with colors also. Yeah, white is a color too. Well, here you can see, because there's already so much color going on in the blanket of the mom on this picture. The whole white wall is also has also a big role in this picture. So of course the white has its own role and is a color, of course, also. This is more of a sort of a technical thing, that each picture book consists of a cover, of course, and the fly leaves, a title page, and 12 spreads. So this is, if you would ever, decide to make a picture book, this is how it's built up, actually. Oh, here's another storyboard, but I already explained that. Yeah, starting the sketch, the different compositions, I already told you that also. Yeah, add some fun details, especially for if you draw for children. It's nice to bring in some really nice small details, because children can look really well, and they study. Of course, they can't read, but the smaller children, but they can study the pictures really well. So I always love to do little details, as in this picture. You can see the wall of mom and dad is filled with pictures of Arabella, and they're not like vital to the story, but it's nice to add them because children really enjoy them. Well, when you make a picture book, you always have to think of the middle of your page, because that's where the fold is. This is something especially in the beginning, I forgot, because you feel it's one big picture. But of course, when a book it's folded, when you open the book, there's also a fold, and you have to make sure that nothing important sort of disappears in the fold in the middle of your page. now a little bit about my techniques. At the left, you can see this part where I use salt, and I use salt a lot, sea salt that is. And if you sprinkle that over the wet watercolor, you get this beautiful effect. You see, it's got this really nice structure, and I would encourage anyone to try it out, maybe because it's got a really special effect. So I use that quite a lot. And the middle one is bleach. And funny enough, I not only use it as a technique for painting, but I also use it sometimes to erase, as an eraser, you know, when I do make a little mistake and some color accidentally comes into another area where it shouldn't go, I can bleach it out and paint over it again. So that's it's a double it's a double advantage. I really love this technique also because when you, for instance, bleach blue, you get a different shade, and when you bleach brown, you also get a different shade. So it's really nice to try it out. You have to use a nylon pencil, or no, I forgot the English word for this thing, sorry. But it has to be nylon, because otherwise the bleach ruins your pencil. Well, not your pencil, but you know, this thing where I can't find the English word at the moment. So, and another technique is also, which is really pretty, is wet in wet. You know, just drop these little drops of watercolor into a different color, and then it sort of spreads out really pretty. So I sometimes use that also. Now, of course, different brush strokes, you can use different kind of course, the word was brushes, sorry. You can use different kind of brushes, like the flat ones or the more pointed ones. As you can see here with the monkey, I use a flat brush. And so that also gives a feeling of a different technique. The finishing touch, you know, to get a bit more shape into the character, as here in Arabella, I used with soft pastels. So because you can see with her hair, I used just black ink, but around her hair, I used a little bit of soft black pastel to soften up her hair. And I also use it here to give a bit more shape on her face and below her neck. So, and her dress also, to give it a bit more shape and dimension. And as you can see with her, at her eyes and her mouth, I used the bleach again. So that's like the last stage of the drawing, the material-wise. So let it rest again, of course. And well, here are some books, Arabella books that I did over the years that were translated by and published by Cassava Republic. And oh yeah, this is the latest one, Smile with African Style. In this book, I used all different traditional clothing styles, and which was really, really wonderful to do. Here you can see in her beautiful headdress, you can see I used the bleach again, and here, and even here. So it's a really, really wonderful technique. So I wanted to stop sharing now and see if anyone has maybe a question or wanted to comment on something before we have a little break and I continue with some, you know, a little bit of a talk about my other work. Why paint the traditional way using brush and painter? Why not? Ah, yes. I hear that a lot. Well, I think I'm illustration now for about 22, 23 years, something like that. And every time I finish the book, I think, okay, now I'm going to do uh, um, a course on the computer, to a drawing course with the computer. But every time I think, oh, it takes a lot of time. No, I want to start the next book. So I never got around to working digitally. And also, I'm so hooked on my water inks. I really, really love the process of working with these water inks. My whole table here is, I could lower it a little bit. Let me see if you can see. My whole table is filled with all these little bottles of ink in all these different colors. And it's just, I love it too much. I don't want to give it. I could combine it, of course, but I think I'm going to leave it like this. Do you illustrate for other people? Yes, I do. I'd love to show you. I just finished because I usually write my own stories and illustrate them. But the wonderful thing about working with other people is that you get sort of you have to think outside the box also. Sometimes you get in your own way, and but I think it's really good to work with other people because that makes you grow and develop your style again also. And so the latest collaboration I did was with with Chimamanda Adichie's book We Should All Be Feminists. I arranged the text and brought it a bit back for children, well, a little bit more older children, like 8, 9-year-olds, and illustrated it. And I had such a great time doing it because it made me think again quite differently than I usually do. So I was very, very grateful to get this assignment and make this book for her, you could say. Thank you. Someone says that looks fabulous. Thank you so much. So yeah, I encourage everyone to also work with other people. It's that's the best way to grow also. If you do, how many days do you let it rest? I usually let it rest a couple of days, not too long, but I put it in my drawer and I let it rest for a little bit and then take it out again. So it works for me very well. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I really, really hope it will be, the book, Chimamanda's book, will be translated in English also and be published in Nigeria. I think they're working on it, but it takes a little while, but that would be great, of course. Yeah, it was such an honor also to do it. Okay, so since you already have a style, how does everyone fit in? Your style, their style, how does it all come together? Well, the person I work with are always writers. I don't necessarily work together with other illustrators. So if I work with another writer, of course, the writer can say, well, I thought of this story and it would be nice if it would be drawn like this and this and this, or, I think that the main character should look like this and this and this. And of course you can take that in, but I think ultimately the decision is for the illustrator to decide, well, this is how I am going to do it, how I interpreted the story. And so I think you can listen to the writer and hear what they have to say, but I think ultimately it is your decision how you want to create or bring that story to life on paper. So, and usually it works, it's I've never had a fight or anything with the writer, and usually they're also pleasantly surprised. So that works quite well, actually. Okay. Is there another question? I think your work is fantastic. There's a special magic in having it hand drawn. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think, there is something, another quite nice thing about just hand drawing or hand painting is that I visit classes, schools a lot, and then I show them in the classroom how these colors with watercolors work, mixing the colors, the blue and the yellow, and then they can see it, coming to life. And that's also a very, very nice thing to do, to demonstrate to the kids how it comes about. So I think I know I'm going to stick with the water inks and the soft pastels and everything, and the salts. Yeah. So is it okay if we have a little break and I come back after that and maybe ask or answer some more questions, and maybe someone wants to show her or his work? Is that an idea? Is that okay, Augusta? Yeah, Augusta's still here. Okay. Okay, I will be. Okay, good. 5 minutes, okay? And I'll be back. So, hi everyone, I'm back. Let me share the screen once more real quick. Is this the one? Yeah. Someone said, will the recording be shared? I think it will. I'm sure Augusta can answer that question, but I'm sure it will be shared. So now a little bit more about my other illustration work, because I've been doing, of course, these books for children, but I think since maybe a year or so, I also started illustrating for grown-ups, because I started doing a series of books. I think I mentioned that at art school, I also loved fashion. I did fashion design for a year, but I never stopped, loving fashion. And even though I never wanted to pursue a career in that, but I'm always curious to see what's the trends and everything. So at a certain point, I thought, I don't know if they're for sale in Nigeria, but there's this series of books here that is called Bedtime Stories for Rebel Girls. And it's like a series of books with all these women, like really role model women, women in science and in politics, from the present and also from the past, who did really great things. And so I bought one of those books for my daughters. And at a certain point, I thought, I'm also curious to know a bit more about, interesting women in fashion. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice to make a book about women and handbags? That's how I started, women and handbags. So you see the book on the left is about 50 women, and they're linked to a handbag. And let me see, like here you see an example of Rihanna wearing a very tiny handbag, but pretty expensive, I assume. But so every page is a famous, more or less famous woman linked to a handbag. So that's the first book I did. And the second book, let me go back here, is called it's dames, dame, but means lady in Dutch. And this is about jewelry. So the next book, I think it's going to be published end of the month, is called On Ladies and Jewelry. And it's the same idea, 50 special women, also from the past and the present, and then linked to their jewelry. And it's not only very famous women, but I also wanted to include a lot of ethnic jewelry. So in this case, you see a girl from the Turkana tribe, and on the right, I wrote a little story about some of the cultural background, and also, of course, about the jewelry. So this is something I really love to do also, give a bit more information about the culture and, in this case, the jewelry. And if you look at the picture on the left, you can see that I used the salt. Of course, I made her her jewelry a bit more abstract, but I think, well, I like that also. So you can see on the bottom here, I used the salt, the sea salt again, and a little bit of the bleach. See here also, and in her face, I also used bleach. So it's a bit more abstract, and I think I also love doing that because it gives you, if you illustrate for grown-ups, it feels a bit more free. I feel a bit less. Yeah, I think I feel a little bit more free because, well, it's a different audience, of course, and it really has. How do you say that? Enhanced my feeling for being creative and I really loved working on those books. A lot of work, but I really loved it. And here, I took this picture because what I do before I start out experimenting, well, this is actually the experimenting phase. I first take a piece of paper and I just start out experimenting with the different types of inks and watercolors. So here you see, this is just watercolor, but there's also like black ink, and there's also acrylic ink, and all these paints have a different reaction to each other. Also, of course, with the salt and the bleach. So I love those results, as you can see here. It's really kind of crazy, but if you apply it, in a good form, I think it works really, really nice. So this is actually one of my favorite stages, just to play with the paint and see what you can do with it. So here's another example of the ink. I think I mix the ink with a lot of water here and there, and then sort of let little drops of acrylic ink fall into it. See? So this is just a stage where you can feel completely free and see how you can use it. And oh yeah, these are some brushes I bought also to get this, like, they're like really huge, these brushes. And but you can see it gives such a beautiful pattern. And I practice first, of course, a little bit to see how it feels and how the stroke, gets to sort of get it into a good rhythm. And after that, I apply it. So what I'm doing right now is just work for myself for now, and sort of combine my love for fashion and my love for color, of course, and the techniques. I combine that all together in these big drawings. They're quite big. They're I'm not sure what kind of measurements you use in Nigeria, but I think it's in English, it's like 59 inches long and they're 15 inches wide. So they're quite big, but that also gives you a feeling of freedom and just sort of, letting go a bit instead of making these very tiny drawings. So it's really a process I really, really love, and I'm very happy to try things out. Again, here also you can see I use the salt and the bleach, and I'm still looking for the right, well, there is not the right form, but I'm sort of a way to express myself. And I think this is getting a bit more close to where I want to go. I want to do the clothes. I want to give more of an abstract form, and the heads and the faces I want to do a bit more realistic. So I'm just, it's a journey, and I just want to explore and see what I can do. And this is just for my own pleasure, you could say. And maybe someday a gallery would be interested, but it's very nice to do something completely different aside from my illustration work for children. So I would really recommend that, if you have a lot of assignments or have to do work to earn money, it's very nice to just have some work on the side where you can just feel free and try out things. So this is my last, I thought, beautiful quote. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have, by Maya Angelou. So on this note, I'm very curious to see if someone maybe wants to show me some work or have another comment or question. Or I see here already, do you have to have a formal education? No, not at all. You know, I did go to art school a couple of years, but I never got a degree. I left before I was able to get a degree. And I think, you know, the main thing, and especially I think with illustration, with drawing, is that you just practice a lot. That just, if you draw every day, I'm sure you'll get better every day. And the beautiful thing I think about this profession is that you can grow old with it. You know, I'm never going to retire. I know that. I'm going to keep illustrating, you know, until I fall down. But so there's so much room and time to develop yourself. And I think a formal education, you know, if you enjoy that, fine. But otherwise, there's plenty of more ways to become a professional illustrator. Oh, well, Bama says, I enjoyed this workshop, particularly the first part before the break. Well, you're very welcome. I hope that that I had some good informations for you to continue. And if someone wants to show me their work or, you know, have another question, please do. I'm actually quite curious to see some work. If there's anyone who wants to share. Also, I'm quite curious to see if anyone is already working as an illustrator, maybe part-time or professionally. I would love to know how that takes place, or maybe you're an aspiring illustrator. Let's see if anyone wants to share. What is the application that can be used for making the illustrations? The application, sorry, I'm not quite sure. What is application? Is that, what is application? Software. Oh, okay, software. Well, you know, I don't I don't use the computer, but what I do is when I finish a drawing, I scan it. I do have a scanner here in my studio, and then I send it to the publisher. So I don't use Photoshop or anything. The designer, the graphic designer who works for the publisher has that. And if anything has to, you know, be retouched or anything, then the graphic designer does that. But other than that, I just, everything I use for the drawing is like by hand. So with the brushes and the pencils, nothing to do with software. I'm not too good at that either. So I think it's better for everyone. I just keep continuing with my my inks and my paints. Ah, someone has it. Oh, that's very nice. A demo. Well, this is obviously a fashion illustration. That's really nice. Would you like to tell me a little bit about it? It looks as if it's been done by the computer. To start off with, I really like the composition.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody.
Hi.
My name is Miracle. I'm a fashion illustrator.
Yeah.
So this piece was more inspired by an old look. Back in the day, I think the Victorians used to have this kind of headpiece that went across the neck, and very structured bodies, bodies with all sorts of corsets, you know. So I just try to modernize it and bring it back to the present day with a little bit of the bling and a touch of red. So that was just a very simple, basic design I was trying to, recreate from the past.
Yeah, very nice. I also, I think you can recognize that it's so nice if you make the fashion illustration, you can, do whatever you want. You're not like bound with the fit or the structure of the dress. You can just let your imagination go and make a beautiful design, and that's really wonderful to do. So
Thank you.
well, thank you for sharing that. This was a picture made with a computer, right?
Yes, it was made with a computer, digital work. Somebody was asking in the chat, so it's a digital work. It was not hand painted.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. Yeah, very nice. So do you want to pursue this specifically fashion illustration?
Okay, so currently I'm a fashion illustrator.
Yeah.
So I'm running that together with being a fashion designer. So I currently teach, but not very professionally in fashion schools across Nigeria, Abuja to be precise here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something I'm looking at pursuing. And another thing that excited me about seeing your work, I had always thought about how do I translate these designs into beautiful artworks that could just hang in hotels,
Yeah.
in fashion places, where, because I also do a little bit of hand painting. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been looking for a way to, translate this from just being purely about clothes to being about art, to being about
Exactly.
expression, about creativity. So it's something I
Yeah.
actually look forward to doing in the future. But for now, I really just tell my illustrations and teach other people how to illustrate.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, but I think that would be a great opportunity to hang your work in maybe a beautiful shop or a place like that. That's connected with fashion. So that's a great idea. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, well, now I'm curious for the next picture. Is there anyone else who wants to share something? Is there anyone who works with children, maybe, who works specifically for drawing for children? Not really. Let me see. Because I know that there's a lot of writers in Nigeria. And so I would think you need a lot of illustrators also then.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes.
Sorry, I heard you for a
A
minute.
lot of writers in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right. A lot of writers in Nigeria, and there's an emerging, field of people illustrating children's books. But I think it's still growing and still shaping up. I know a lot of people are becoming interested in writing children's books, even for a start. And we expect that there would be an increase in demand for illustrators as well. Just part of why we're having this. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. And is it something that is taught at the art academy? I visited the art academy in Lagos, but I don't remember specifically if there was a department for children's illustration. I do believe there was there were a lot of students who made graphic novel art, but yeah, it's very specific.
It is. It's
yeah.
coming up slowly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, who knows? I might be able to visit Nigeria again and give some classes there. I was in Nigeria a couple of years ago, and I really loved it in Lagos. So who knows?
Yeah, that was fantastic, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So does anyone else have a question? Someone's going to share something great. It's a beautiful landscape. Very nice. And with what program is it? Is this a special drawing program for the computer?
Yes, this is done with Autodesk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Autodesk sketchbook.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it on the
On
iPad?
a tablet.
On the tablet. Yes. Right. Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
So I mean, I do mostly writing. I work as a health journalist, but I've always loved drawing, even when I was little. So I just thought, why not, explore this? So I got a tablet. So I started asking friends who do illustrations, the sort of softwares they use. They are the paid ones, but I realized this was free. So I decided to just start with this. So I didn't do this off the top of my head. I think I followed a guide. Someone was painting, so I was painting along. Yeah, just to not really figured out what exactly I want to be drawing or illustrating, but I just felt, okay, let me just get comfortable with the tools and the brushes.
Try things
get
out,
familiar with them.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah. There's so many things you can do with the tablet. All these different brush strokes. But this already looks really nice. Yeah. I think if the reflection of the sun could be a little bit softer, then it would be maybe, it's, or maybe a little bit more because of course the waves of the water, it's like a stripe now, but if you make it a little bit more wavy, the reflection, then it would be perfect. Yeah, but it's really nice. I love the colors.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nice.
Just trying to get used to get the hang of it.
So, but you said that you write also?
Yes, I do more of writing. My health journalist. Yeah.
And is it your ambition to combine your drawings with your writing also?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to, exploring better ways of communicating, because I see these days, most people don't have all the patience to sit and read all of the tests, but if you can find ways of, making them more engaging. So yeah, I'm exploring better ways of, making sure that the contents put out, people engage with them better, and, make use of them.
Exactly. Yeah. I really love, because the great thing is if you make up your own stories, you already see them in your head. You already form the pictures in your head. So if you're then able to put those pictures on the paper, then it's wonderful. So that's absolutely worth a try. Thank you.
Thanks.
Let me see what else. And paint. Oh yeah, I already had that question. Great. So I'm getting the taste of it. Any more pictures to share? I was wondering, about the materials, like watercolors. When I was in Nigeria, it wasn't that easy to find these different materials, but do they sell watercolors in Nigeria also? Or is it more like the acrylic paints? Does anyone know?
Okay, so in Abuja here, we have a place we call UTC where you could get various art materials. You could get pastel colors, you could get watercolors, but I think the problem is you don't get a lot of variety. So it's either you get this or you get that. So I think there's also a shortage of where you can actually get these materials from, because if you are not conversant with this particular area, it seems every other bookshops just seems to sell books basically and stationaries. But in terms of getting quality art materials, even as simple as sketch, very easy. Maybe in Lagos there'll be easy, them a lot of variety. There are not a lot of options to choose from. So I think it's something we all owe ourselves to build, to improve the industry, to make these materials more accessible.
Yeah.
So that artists can find a way to express themselves through whatever medium they choose.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, it's just so important. Also for, for everyone, for children also, to just experiment with paint and be creative and express yourselves. I think it's, very important. And of course you need the paints with that also. So that would be great if someone would start a good business in that. Okay, let me see if there's anyone else who wants to share their work. Is Augusta, are you still there? Because I'm wondering if this whole workshop is taped. It probably is, but I wanted to ask you to be sure. Well, I can ask her later on.
Mylo, I'm here. Sorry, I'm at work, so
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if the whole workshop is recorded on tape.
Yes, it's recording right now as we speak.
Okay, great. Yeah, so other people can see it again maybe later if they are still interested.
Yes, please.
Okay, good. So, well, I was wondering if there's anyone who wants to, share some work or have another question. Otherwise, I think I shared most of the things I was able to share with you guys. I might be able to, let me see, share a little clip from my, oh no, that's something else, sorry. Right. Okay, yeah, let me see if I can share this with you guys. I have to start this desktop, share, and then I'll show you a little clip of how I make a picture book really fast. Let's see if we can see that. Just to start. Okay. Yeah, takes a while to load it, sorry. I don't know why it's so slow. Oh, wait. Sorry, I don't know why it's taking so long. No, sorry, I'm stuck. It takes too long. I think what I can do, wait, let me get back here. Are we still here? Yeah. I show you some of the pictures I have here next to me. One more thing I wanted to show you about, developing a character, what I do, because it's sometimes when you have developed a character, it's quite difficult to, position the character in different ways. So what I do, I make little copies of, for instance, these two characters from the book I did, and I copy them in different sizes, so slightly bigger or slightly smaller. So, and then I sort of copy that again and place it on the paper, so I know sort of, how I should draw them in different sizes or something, like sometimes a bit bigger, see? So that's how I try to keep the character sort of the same every time. So this is, let me see. Oh yeah, one fun fact. So when I draw or paint a black character, I use these beautiful brown inks by, it's called Colorex. But when I paint a white character, I first paint them a color, it's called burnt sienna. So they're kind of reddish. And then I bleach them white. So, because then they get a better sort of ivory skin color. So that's a little funny secret. My white characters are always totally bleached white. So that's how I use my white characters. And also another way I use the bleach is like in this drawing. First I made the sky, I painted it all blue. And while this paint was still wet, I dropped these drops of bleach, and then these clouds sort of appeared because of the wet blue paint disappeared, see? And with the tree this little meerkat is sitting on, that was first done with black watercolor, and then I bleached it out a little bit, and so then you get these sort of a better sort of structured tree. So these are all funny things you can do with the bleach. Or I can see there's another question. How do you ensure the characters always look alike? Yeah. Well, she doesn't look, one thing is she doesn't exactly look always the same in the books. My Princess Arabella, sometimes is her head big, slightly bigger than in other books when I look back in the books. But there's always her hair, her hair is so characteristic that there's no doubt that it's always Princess Arabella. So I try to be consequent and, keep the size of her head the same. And of course, I do my best, but it's not always exactly the same. But these little, these copies that I just showed you, that you can do in different sizes, and then you can copy that again. That's a way of making sure that she looks the same in every picture. But I must say I'm not always that that organized, but I do my best. You can say that. Okay, I can show you more. Oh yeah, this is always also a nice one. The curtain. This is always this. I always use a big curtain for the fly leaves of the books of Arabella. And this fly leaf is also done with bleach. All these little patterns. First it was all green, and then I started doing all these little squares with the bleach. And it's a lot of work, but it's also very makes you very, how do you say that, relaxed. So, and it gives also a nice, you know, like it's a bit of dimension, you know, it has some form also in it, like a real curtain that falls. And these bluish areas I did with the pastels again to give it a little bit more depth. Also with the elephant trunk here, the shadow on her is also done with pastels. So that's another bleachy drawing. Oh yeah, this one I can show you is also a nice one, the zebra. See, I made the zebra first all black, and then I bleached out the white stripes. And as you can see here in the water, also again is done with the salts. And so give it a, it just looks a bit more lively, I think, with these special effects, you could say. Oh yeah, one more. In the first book of Princess Arabella. You can see, actually it's funny because this is a drawing from the first book from Princess Arabella. And you can see that she's evolved a little, because in this picture, her hair is like really one piece of, well, of course it's a strain of hair, but in the last books, it's like more like little balls separate. So, well, this happens, of course. And I think now I just finished, I think there's about 15 books here in Holland, at least from Princess Arabella. So, you know, there's no avoiding that she changes a little bit, I think, from the first book. This was 15 years ago, so she's developed a little, of course. And here the building is also again done with the bleach. So I always, of course, open a window because it smells a little. Okay. So I think this is about it for this workshop. If there's no more questions, or if someone still wants to show me something, you're very, very welcome. But mainly I hope that, well, I gave you some useful information, and hopefully you'll be able to use your creativity.
Great, thank you very much, Mylo.
You're
I'm
welcome.
sorry, I was a bit distracted because I'm at the office now. So yeah, so but I noticed that it was very interactive and there were a lot of questions. And yeah, a lot of people are still going to get this video after now. So I mean, it's going to be a very resourceful workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you to Augusta for inviting me. It was really a pleasure. And well, we never know. Maybe we'll meet. But thank you so much for this opportunity to share.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So thank you everyone for joining and staying into them, staying in through to the end. So we have in the next few minutes, by 3 o'clock, we're going to have the rise of African women in the creative sector. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted. So the links are on the groups, on the information groups, and on our website, so you can join in and enjoy the rest of the festival.
Yes, enjoy the rest of the festival, and thanks for all those lovely compliments. Okay, bye everyone. Bye, Augusta.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.